Hi everyone, welcome back to Neural Nest. This time the episode comes to you from Goa. We wanted to switch things up. We were on a vacation actually and wanted to end the year with one final episode of our podcast. So, yeah, this one's going to be a special one. What do you think?
So absolutely, I mean, we were kind of vacationing here and we were, the year is almost coming to an end. So that's where we thought, we should probably review what happened this year, how insane it was for AI, what all happened. Although we've been tracking it through the podcast and all, we haven't done podcasts. I mean, our podcast was also kind of overdue. So we were kind of debating, whether we should do it from here or not. Will people be able to hear us or not? Because there's so much, noise in the background. So we'll have to do a lot of work after this. Even for that, probably we'll use AI and stuff. We'll figure out something. But then this is going to be a fun episode, more of fun than, any formal stuff. But then we are going to, kind of look at what all models and everything happened over the last year and what it's going to be like in the coming year, right? So let's see. Yeah, let's dive into it.
Yep. This is going to be like an AI rewind for this year. We'll just cover what all important things, what all insane things happened this year related to
absolutely.
AI.
I mean, the year seems like it doesn't feel like a year. It seems like, the amount of activities that have happened this year, it feels like it was a decade kind of thing. I mean, so much activity. I don't think, we've been tracking it through. I mean, so we started our podcast around August 15th, right? So we've been tracking it for the past 6 months pretty much. But then there was so much activity. There's so much that has happened in this year that, there's a lot to cover basically. So basically, I mean, if we start with the, so at the start of Jan 2025, although it looks like, it was too far back in past, but so some of the very old models like O3 and, so from OpenAI, they had GPT-4o and O3 was the, their flagship model, right? It was a thinking model. And then from Anthropic, the biggest and best model that they had was
3.5.
Sora 3.5 and Opus 3.5, which now sounds like, it's so far back in time. But those were the best models that we had. And, we were kind of using that. And from Gemini, I'm thinking we started the year with Gemini 2.0, right?
Yep.
So a lot happened over the year, right? So what all, did you track what all models came in and at what time?
Because of this, because of AI, a lot of these tech companies are launching products every few weeks. So that was very exciting.
Every big model company, for example, OpenAI or Anthropic or Gemini, Google or XAI, they had multiple releases throughout the year.
Yep.
If we broadly classify, basically they had one minor release. For example, we started the year with GPT-4o, right? Then they released 4.5. I mean, OpenAI has released so many models, right? I mean, they released 4.5, then they released 4.1, then they released, GPT-5, then they did 5.1, then they did 5.2, right? So they have kind of, throughout the year, they've been releasing model, like their flagship model. That's the top of the line model, right? So there have been so many releases from OpenAI. I mean, some of them were kind of pushed in. I mean, for example, recently when Gemini released 3.0, that's where OpenAI went into code red and they had to come out with something, because everybody was like, Gemini is beating OpenAI hands down. So that's where, Sam Altman had to push the team to, deliver, and they came out with 5.2. It's still debatable whether 5.2 is comparable to Gemini 3.0 or not, but that's a different story. So basically, OpenAI did a lot of, model releases. Anthropic was much more, managed, I would say. Basically, they started the year with 3.5, right?
Yep.
Then they went to 3.7. Then they went, so a major model release was 4.0.
Yeah.
Around, what was the time frame for that?
Around May of 2020.
Oh, so that was May, early part of the year, right?
Yeah.
So they did 4.0 and then they went on to release 4.5, I think, right? Which is their latest and greatest release, right? Which happened in September. So throughout the year, even Anthropic was releasing, and when 4.5, Sonnet came in September, it became the best coding model immediately, pretty much, right? And then later on, Opus was released, I think a month later, right?
Yeah, in
Opus,
November.
In November, right? Oh, so it was a couple months down the line. So basically, Opus came in, and now Opus is probably the best coding model. I mean, so now people are kind of divided whether they use Opus or Gemini 3 or GPT. I pretty much use every model. I use Grok as well. But then, yeah, everybody is picking their favorites and they're trying to, kind of. So, have you been following some models? Which ones were your favorite?
So it's very exciting because whenever one major company releases their flagship model, any other company would release their models in a few weeks time frame. So that's where the things get exciting because you don't really get to test one model. You can actually compare the two companies, the two models. That's what I've seen.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I mean, now that we've named so many models, we haven't even talked about the open source models that came in, right? So this year was very intense in terms of open source models also coming in, and even OpenAI released, GPT OSS 120B and 20B, right? That was around, I think, August time frame, 5th of August or something, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, Google was already in the game. Google was already releasing open source models in Gemma versions, right? So this year Gemma 3 came in, 27B and stuff like that. So it was the first time OpenAI came out with open source models, right? But apart from that, Chinese models were, throughout the year they were in news. The year started with DeepSeek R1 coming in Jan, I think, right?
Yep.
So that's where it kind of, shook the whole world with thinking models. Everybody, came to know that, even open source could have thinking models. So that's where, throughout the year, there were so many model released. So like you rightly said, it is so difficult to even track the names of those models. How do you even go back and test all of them, right?
Yep.
So that's where it becomes, so this year was kind of overwhelming for all of us because as developers, as coders, we want to be using the best tools available to us at all times, right? So keeping up with all of the model changes was itself an overwhelming task. I mean, you would not, at even today, if you ask me what is the best coding model, it would depend on the kind of task that I'm, currently doing. I generally go back to Sonnet 4.5 for every other task, but then at times I would go to Gemini 3, at times I would go to Grok, and at times I would even go to 5.2 GPT codex model, right? So that's where it's been an overwhelming year for all of us, I think, right?
These companies have been constantly releasing newer products, something that uses these models, something that is based around these models. And
Absolutely.
these product releases have been happening almost every other week, a couple of weeks, maybe twice, thrice a month. So I think the year started with the biggest release, that was Claude Code. It was released with Sonnet 3.7 around February. Yeah, somewhere around February, March. It was released with Sonnet 3.7. So yeah, Claude Code, it was one of the biggest product releases in the beginning of the year, I believe. It kind of changed the entire trajectory of how we use these AI models in our actual programming products. So yeah, after Claude Code, a lot of companies came out with their own CLI, Gemini CLI. Codex came after a couple of weeks or maybe a month later. So yeah, the start of the year 2025 in terms of the products was, I believe, Claude Code.
Oh, absolutely. So basically, end of the year 2024, if you remember, Anthropic kind of released MCP framework,
Yep.
right? And that was the foundation of agentic applications, right? I mean, people were still trying to develop agents in 2024, even I was, right? But it was pretty difficult without that, MCP framework, which pretty much every model company, OpenAI and Gemini and everybody else also kind of adopted. I mean, you'll hear those background sounds every now and then, but then, okay. So basically, MCP was released, and that's where every model company kind of adopted it. and which is where this year a lot of agents came into being. So Claude Code, even before Claude Code, I mean, Claude had released Claude Desktop, right? So Claude Desktop pretty much was almost the first agentic application that I can remember of. But then Claude Code came in this year, and every company throughout the year has been working on agentic development applications. I could call them IDEs, or I could call them, CLIs or whatever, but agentic. So every company is kind of targeting, development, making that process smoother. So they came out with their agentic platforms for development and, applications and stuff like that. But apart from that, there were a lot of very interesting, agentic applications such as browser. Perplexity came out with Comet, right? You kind of experimented with that as well.
So yeah, a lot of new product releases happened this year, and initially I was tracking these products as someone who's not really a programmer. So the majority of the population that was using these AI tools was using they were using these via platforms like Lovable or Bolt to get their applications made. Then we transitioned to AI IDEs, Cursor, and
Windsor.
Yep. A lot of new IDEs.
So most of those were plugins into Visual Studio Code.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, a lot of product releases happened this year, and then the transition happened to these CLI models, which people are now using, Codex and Claude. So I was kind of not really into programming in the beginning of the year. So I saw the transition from web-based application development tools to IDEs built around AI agents, and then finally to terminal CLIs. So that was really exciting.
Yep. Absolutely. So for you were just beginning your coding journey.
Yep.
I have been in this for last 20-25 years, right? So I haven't seen so much innovation in last 24 years as much as I've seen this single year, right?
Yep.
I haven't seen, Visual Studio was our default ID when I started coding in like 2000s. And then we transitioned into some open source, around 2008, 2010, 12 time frame. Then we came back to VS Code around, 2018 or 2015, somewhere around that, right? So we did not see a lot of innovation or new IDs coming in, right? But within this year itself, there are so many different ways to, start coding CLIs and IDEs, and that itself. So apart from models coming in, these IDEs and these products, this was insane. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, I changed my default ID like 4 times this year. So.
Yep. And then the browser wars kicked in, right?
Yeah. So one of the most interesting product releases this year was in the AI browser frame, and Perplexity was one of the first companies to actually lead this part of the AI frame, and they came out with the Perplexity Comet. It was this AI browser that you could use to get a lot of things done just by writing a command instead of doing it on your own. So that was one of the most interesting products that I got to test this year. And then later on we got Atlas by OpenAI, and a bunch of other companies are working on AI browsers of their own as well.
Oh, absolutely. So Anthropic is kind of plugging into Chrome itself. So so every AI company like wanted to have agents, and then first they tried agents on the desktop itself, and then they thought, browser is where we spend most of our time. So that's what they're, trying to land grab, trying to capture as much as possible. So Perplexity's Comet was really good. I mean, we still love it. We've been using it quite a lot. I mean, Akshun is kind of fan of it. I tried Atlas, wasn't very impressed, and so that's where that one was. I haven't tried, the plugin from Anthropic for Chrome yet, but hopefully, if we get some time, which I'm sure we won't, but if we get some more time so we'll try that out as well. But apart from that, a lot of very interesting, models and products were launched in. I mean, so major flagship models were fine, but then OpenAI came out with Sora 2, which is video generation model, right? And around after some time, VO3 came out from Google, which was also very interesting. So we did a comparison between those two video generation models. So a lot of work is being done there. But then Sora 2 came out with when OpenAI came out with Sora 2, it came out with social media app as well, right? Which was Sora, which was also called Sora. So agentic applications went on to social media platforms as well. So that was very interesting to watch this year. So the one observation has been that OpenAI has been trying to land grab as much as possible at all different places, which is where we, in one of the podcasts, probably a couple of podcasts back, we discussed, they're spreading themselves so thin that they would find it hard to go back to, models and stuff, and which is where they faced competition from Gemini, and then they had to focus all their energy on creating a newer, better model, right? And probably they're still focused on that. So that's what, yeah, the companies are trying to do as much as possible. We saw clear direction come out from Anthropic as well. They want to be enterprise kind of company. I mean, they want to be solution providers for enterprises. They want to be basically providing coding support and things like that, or agents for enterprises. That's the clear direction that they've taken. So that was interesting to watch. Did you track anything else?
Apart from that, a lot of interesting product releases happened as well. OpenAI has actually come out with a lot of products. I was trying to note them down, but I just couldn't find all of them in all the releases that happened in the year 2025.
I mean, if you ask OpenAI themselves, they would all probably not even remember what all they've released, right?
Yep. In their DevCon 2025, they tried integrating a lot of third-party applications inside the interface of ChatGPT. So that was one of initially I was really excited for that product, but it turns out it's not. It did not live up to the hype. According to me, a lot of products are not here, not available for use right now here. Yeah.
So a lot of so that was not something that OpenAI integrated. I mean, they gave you a framework where you can integrate your own applications inside of ChatGPT.
Yep.
So they're trying to build an ecosystem around ChatGPT itself, so that you don't have to leave that interface at all. You can interact with Photoshop. You can interact with any or every application that you use in daily life, right? So that framework is still out there. I think OpenAI currently is focused completely on model improvements, but then a lot of companies, every day you hear news about a lot of companies integrating their product into ChatGPT, because that is a very interesting model for you to optimize. Like earlier we used to do search engine optimization. Now to get answer engine optimization, that's a very straightforward integration that you do into ChatGPT, and then it can refer that product to you. You can directly talk to that product. So that was a very interesting release by OpenAI. So basically, even as consumers, we are getting so many different things to consume, right, that people are not able to direct their attention at the right place, right? So let's see. I mean, hopefully we as humans will get more time to absorb what is happening around us, and then we'll pick and choose what we like, and then we'll go back to that. So I totally agree with you that OpenAI came out with almost a lot of very interesting and very different products. It is so difficult to keep track of that. Anything else that was worth noting from your perspective?
OpenAI, I feel like, is releasing so many products, but some of them, if the market adapts to those products, they go insane, right? Like like VO3 and
Sora 2.
Yeah, Sora 2. Sorry, and a lot of products, like after a few weeks, no one really cares about. So it's like I feel like they're coming out with as many things as possible. They don't really care if it's a hit or miss. That what feels like.
No, so basically, every company is trying to, they are learning AI by creating products. They are learning how people are interacting with those products. One, that is giving them more data to train their AIs. Two, that is giving them input as to how people are interacting with those agents, so that they can evolve, the agentic applications more. But ultimately, as consumers, we only have limited attention and limited time, right? So that's where I don't think, they know, or they are creating products that they know would exist a couple years down the line. That is probably not how they are taking it. They are creating something, throwing it out in the public, just trying to see, how people are reacting to it, learning from that product, and then evolving, or maybe even completely discarding that product and creating something completely new, right? So for AI companies, they have to be in the news pretty much all the time. That's where, they have to either come out with product models, which ultimately would be limited, probably 2 or 3 major releases per year, and that's where you develop applications on top of those models to be able to see, how people are interacting and using those product models.
Yeah.
So that's what we saw this year, broadly. Yeah.
I feel like the biggest product release in the entire year of 2025 was probably Nano Banana by Google.
Oh, so the from the image perspective, the first thing that came in was Ghibli images, right?
Yep.
So OpenAI came out with, image editing or image creation or modification tool, right?
Yep.
Which is where the whole world went insane for a almost couple weeks. We saw Ghiblified images all across the internet. I mean, their servers were fried because of that. Yeah. So that was insane. That was pretty much the first wave of,
AI image generation.
Generation models.
Yep.
So in March and April timeframe, we saw a lot of Ghibli images, and then when in August, Nano Banana came in, people started editing images with just the prompt, right? So that was also a kind of very interesting wave on social media. You get to see a lot of different images with lots of, a lot of times I saw Sam Altman or these, celebrities in, in normal images and stuff. I think we also created something with Elon Musk and stuff. So that was very interesting from play perspective. I mean, for us, coding is the work and everything else is play. So that's where we played with a lot of image editing this year. And it's so within this year itself, the image editing has, become so insanely good. I mean, for now, so Nano Banana first release came in August, right? And then with Gemini 3 release, they've released a new version of Nano Banana. And that is absolutely, I mean, you could see a marked difference in how good that editing is now, right? So within, a span of 3, 4, or 5 months, we see very major difference in the quality of the model or quality of results that we're getting from that model, right? So, I mean, everything else, probably coding and everything else is, only limited to developers and coders. Only they can feel how good the model has become. But for images, I think everybody can, try it, and, you'll immediately know how good the models, how much improvement that has happened within, 5-6 months over these models.
Yep.
Apart from that, one of the major things I have kind of noticed is, the price of models, the price of intelligence is going down rapidly. So, for example, last year, the flagship model from OpenAI was GPT-4o, right? Which was costing us around $10 per million tokens. Okay. This year, at this point where we are sitting right now, GPT 5.2 is their flagship model, which is costing around $1.75 for 1 million tokens, right?
Wow.
So roughly, even if you calculate, if we assume that intelligence level is same, the model factor would be basically almost 5.7x, improvement in terms of cost. But we know that the model has improved significantly, at least 10x, right?
Yep.
So that's where, intelligence has gone down to almost 50 times. It's become cheaper this year, only from OpenAI. If we go to Grok, which is, has an insanely cheap model, right? In terms of price, it's almost 2 cents per million tokens, right? So that makes it almost, 500 times, pretty much, right? So cost of intelligence is going down rapidly, but still because of agentic applications, agents are token hungry, right? You still end up burning a lot of tokens when you're, using these agentic applications. So cost, if the trend continues, we'll probably see a lot more cheaper models next year from OpenAI. I mean, so industry standard is almost, 40x basically better models from the same company, cheaper models, right? But if we across industry, let's say Gemini is very cheap now, and Gemini models, and then Grok is very cheap, like 2 cents for a million token is really cheap, right? So that's where the cost for AI is going down rapidly, and what that means is we'll see a lot more agentic applications, a lot more applications of AI. Everywhere we'll see AI, right? So that's what's gonna happen. And apart from that, you've been tracking context windows and all, right? So how has it like kind of varied from last year to this year? Have you tracked that?
Almost all the major products have increased their context window to at least 1 million tokens per session.
So it's not at least 1 million tokens. So basically 2024 GPT-4o had 32,000 kind of tokens context window. This year they've gone up to 100,000.
Okay.
Okay. But Grok is something that has broken all the records. It's gone to 2 million. Context tokens in context window, and Gemini is pretty much 1 million.
1 million. Yep.
So that's where context windows are exploding. So that's also one trend that we've noticed. Hopefully we'll get to see most likely infinite context window, if not a trillion token kind of context window coming up this year in 2026, hopefully. So apart from that, there were some predictions made for the year 2025 when we were starting. I mean, even before that, right? So have you tracked whether those predictions have, gone through or not?
I mean, the major prediction was that AGI, we would reach AGI in the year 2025, but
so Sam Altman had said at some places that GPT-5 would be very close to AGI, if not AGI, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's we know that. I mean, although the definition of
AGI is constantly changing. Everyone has their own definition, so we don't really know.
Yeah. So the definition of AGI itself is evolving, and some people say that the moment Turing test was passed, AGI has been achieved. Some people still say, and some people say that we are in singularity, so we don't know when it will be done, but it's in the process, and it will happen, one fine day. So that was one prediction. So that did not go very well, but then it was predicted. And then the job market, it was predicted that, it will be insane in the job market. Lots of people would lose their job and stuff. Not that people have not lost jobs. Yes, people have. But there have been new jobs that are created in terms of prompt engineering or AI engineers and things like that. So yes, some churn has happened, but hopefully it's not as bad as it was, predicted earlier on. So those were a couple of, earlier predictions that we thought people were predicting and did not happen this year. Apart from that, there were some major, setbacks for AI as well this year, right?
Yeah, and it was not all sunshine and rainbows, unlike here. So one of my favorite failures in the AI space was an AI coding tool which wiped out the production database and then lied about the data. That was one of the most interesting stories.
No, so Replit, basically somebody used Replit for wipe coding, right? Their application, and in the process, the agent deleted the production database. So the database was gone. And then basically when the user asked the agent about the database, it created some, fake data and said, database still there. And when the user looked into the database, they figured out, the database was deleted and some, fake data has been created instead of the production data. So that was one major disaster. And obviously along the way, we have had a lot of disasters, but this was one of the major disasters that happened, which was very much highlighted, right? And apart from that, there was this Deloitte news from Australia, right? They were doing a project for Australian government, which was $440,000, right? Australian dollars. And then the report that they produced had hallucinated, references and stuff.
I think XAI's failure was
Oh
one of
yeah,
the most interesting. Like, the
anti-Semitic comments
yeah,
that it made,
anti-Semitic
right?
comments on X.
Yeah, Chicago Times had published a list of books for people to read, right? And the names of the book in that list was hallucinated by AI. So hallucination has been a constant theme, constant problem across around AI. Yeah, so people are still trying to figure out how to, ensure that AI responses or AI, answers that they get are not hallucinate. That's still not been achieved. I don't know whether that can be achieved or not, but yeah, people are still trying to, so that hallucination has been a big problem across for this year, right?
I think there were a lot of failures, a lot of interesting flops, but I think these were the major ones that we've covered here. But I think we're really excited for what's in store now, what's coming up in 2026 and the future, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we go there, what has been your observation through the year? Like you started, and what were some insane things that you were able to achieve this year? Have you like kind of listed that out, or have you thought through that?
The shift from not being able to do anything to being able to do practically anything that I want just with my computer, that is what I saw in this year. So
Mm-hmm.
that was fascinating. Now I've got multiple ways, multiple platforms to do anything that I want. I feel like the possibility of creating anything has become basically endless for me now. As
Mm-hmm.
someone who is not in the know of programming.
Yep. So vibe coding has become
In fact,
very
the
much
term vibe
accessible.
coding came out this year, right?
Yeah, right. Around Feb
Feb.
March time
Yeah.
frame. Yeah. So basically, yeah, that has become very accessible. So I now I think everybody should be able to write their application. So for me, basically, last year, end of 2024, models were starting to write code. Some of that was making sense as well. Some of that code was reasonably good, right? But this year has been an explosion. I mean, so throughout the year I've seen the progress in terms of coding. Like talked about the tools, we talked about the models as well, right? But so what happened when we started this trip, right? I always look for applications which I can use to track the GPS coordinates of when we are driving. That's the kind of application that I was looking for. And there are a lot of applications on Play Store, but I was never satisfied with any application. And earlier, obviously, I did not know mobile application development, so I never tried to develop something on my own. But this year, right before, so let's say we were going to start for the road trip in the morning around 10 or 11, I sat around 1 a.m. in the night and I vibe coded a mobile application within 30 minutes to 45 minutes, which is able to track GPS coordinates every so often, 3 minutes or 5 minutes or whatever, and it's been coded in a way that it doesn't use a lot of my battery, right? So what I'm trying to say is vibe coding has come a long way this year. I'm not saying that it's still ready for production codes, but it has come to a point where somebody who does not know that language or that platform could still code the whole thing, the whole application very quickly. So that's and this is going to increase is going forward as well, right? So that is one thing that I've observed across the year. And then we talked about the image editing, we talked about the video editing. So all of that is image editing and video editing everybody can experience very quickly. And if you've not, I would rather you keep tabs on these things from this year forward. Look at where image editing or video editing is now, and in July 2026 and then December 2026 you will see a huge shift. And that's how you can measure, even for a layman, how effective AI has become, right? So so that's where I saw 2025 was huge in terms of AI, from coding perspective, from every other perspective as well, right? At least 10x improvement I have personally kind of observed in coding terms. I've become a lot more capable. I can, kind of, create anything for myself at any time I need. So that's what I personally observed this year. So going forward, what are your predictions for 2026?
Maybe not in 2026, but I always thought that AI browser, AI operating system would be a thing. Operating system built around an AI model where the model does everything. That's what I think. If you were to ask me what the future would look like, the near future, that's what I would say. But in 2026, the most interesting thing is that we cannot really actually predict anything to a very precise level, right? Because 2025 was insane what we saw.
So my prediction is basically 2026 is going to be 10x
Yeah.
more insane. We are going to see a lot more models coming out. The competition is just starting right now,
Yep.
right? So we are, and a lot. So apart from model companies, a lot of other AI startups which have been working obviously in 2025 as well, but would be coming out with their products as well. That pace is going to increase as well. So we'll see a lot more. So agents, people in 2025 have learned how to develop agents, right? In 2026, we'll see a lot of agents out there. So for example, towards the end of this year, Claude came out with skills kind of framework, right? So that skills framework, not everybody has adopted yet, but that is a very interesting concept for agentic development. So hopefully, similar, better concepts would come out this year, and we'll see a lot more effective agents coming out, and at least a lot of agents are going to be coming out for every single task that you do. By the end of year 2026, I think you would be able to vibe code your production applications as well. That's where it has to, yeah, I certainly feel that that's going to happen. People are going to put these applications in production, and then I expect to see a 1% billion startup coming this year. Yeah, I mean, people have been talking about 0% as well, or 2 or 3. I mean, I would see, yeah, maybe 1 to 2 or 3 kind of percent startup going to $1 billion valuation. That's what we should see this year. That's, yeah, because everything can be automated. Agents will do a lot of work, and people would be buying agents, people would be selling agents. So that's going to be very possible this year, and I think that will happen. But apart from that, the costs of AI would continue to plummet. The context windows hopefully would become a trillion token context window. So those are just wishes, and we will see vibe coded applications in production. We will see basically a lot more job churn this year as people are learning how to use, because as humans we take some time to adapt. My thought is that is currently the bottleneck. AI itself is at a place where it can do wonders. It's just that we as human, I mean, we've seen at least 15, 20 different cutting edge models coming this year. Next year we'll probably see more of that, right? One bad thing that happened this year is all the open source models mostly came out from China. And when you use something from China, there's always at the back of your mind, would they be sniffing around? Would they be, hacking your computer or not? Although people have tested, those models don't have any bugs in there. I mean, don't have any, backdoors in there. But then we want to see more open source model coming out from US. Meta was doing a very good job. They did very interesting model releases in 2024. They did some release in 25, which was not so good. But I hope to see some open source models. I mean, Mistral has been doing interesting model releases. Let's hope to see India's own, uh, generative AI model, foundational model come out this year. It's scheduled to come out sometime in March or April. Let's hope that comes out good. So those are the things that we are looking forward to in the next year, and hopefully we'll get more time. We'll focus more of our attention towards creating this uh, podcast, and yeah, more videos, and hopefully we'll bring in everything to you closer to when it's released rather than when we are available. We'll try to, from our perspective, we'll try to be more responsive, right? So yeah, that's what I think. That's where
The
we'll wrap.
most interesting thing is that the viewers can't will even in 2025 the viewers won't be able to tell if this is AI generated or we're
Oh,
actually in
absolutely,
Goa.
absolutely. Yeah, that has already started happening in 2025, 2026. I think, so another prediction you would say, or another, thing that I think would happen would be I would be able to clone myself. So one of my, clone would be able to do a podcast. One of my clone would be able to attend a Zoom meeting and stuff. So that's where things are moving. Even if it doesn't happen in 2026, it'll probably happen in 2027. But that's where, we'll be able to replicate ourselves. And that's where, when I said, that $1 billion startup from a person or couple of people, that's how they'll replicate themselves, and they'll be able to, leverage AI to multiply themselves. So with that, we come to a wrap on this episode
And this year,
and wishing everybody a very happy new year 2026 in advance. And hopefully, we'll do our podcasts at the beginning of the new year as well.
Happy New Year, everyone, and we'll see you in 2026.
Thanks so much for watching. Thank you, guys. Yep.
Thank you.